This is part two of the talk on the Flaneur because my screen froze when I was mid sentence. I'll try to pick up where I left off. If I repeat myself a little bit, well, that's all right. So, as I was saying, that the Flaneur is I believe, we can use that. We can use the Flaneur as a model for a particular way to inhabit our ordinary landscape. And again, that requires that we move through it without thinking about it in traditional ways. Use the quad here at Wake Forest. What for? Well, you might use it as a space over which to walk to get to class or back to your dorm. You might use it as a place to lounge on a nice sunny afternoon. In other words, we tend to see our familiar landscapes in a utilitarian light, I guess I could say an instrumentalist light, that the landscape, the cityscape, the place is there for us to move successfully in our ordinary world. But how can you break those habits? How can you see what you've looked at hundreds of times as if you're seeing it for the first time? Well, aside from Baudelaire's work, there are many other writers in the 20th century who did just that. In particular, Virginia Woolf, A Street Haunting, where she simply walks out one night to buy a pencil. And the way that she sees the London cityscape that night, it becomes dreamy and strange, and she feels nebulous, as if she's not the person that left the house. And then the essay kind of comes full circle. She comes back to her door at the end, and suddenly it's as if she solidifies again into herself, with a particular past, with particular interests, particular books, and such. Walter Benjamin, also early 20th century, likened the flaneur to the sort of archetypal 20th century artist, the artist of the city being a place of motion, but also a city is a place of alienation, where there's so many people, so many things going on that you simply can't take it all in. So instead of trying to do that, just turn the city into a place where you stroll, almost as if you celebrate your alienation. The alienation actually helps you experience the landscape in a fresh way, the cityscape in a fresh way. But it's not simply the effort to turn the old into the new, it's also the walking, the rhythm of the walking. Walking not hypotactically, that's a fancy way of saying not walking in a causal way. If I go here, then that will happen. Although I did that, that happened. But walking in a paratactical way. Parataxis is a term we use to talk about sentences put together or objects put together with no conjunctions, or maybe with and. So if you can walk in a paratactical way, I turned that corner and I saw that building, and there was a man there, and a bird flew down, and I felt exhilarated, and then so on and so on and so on. The etc. of the everyday, the etc. of the everyday, that kind of open endedness of everydayness. Walking can give us that more so than sitting still. So I think if we walk paratactically, if we walk without being instrumental, if we walk just to walk, then hopefully the landscape, the cityscape will become numinous, strange, uncanny, and will be alive for us. And we will reconnect to the old in fresh ways, and we will have a renewed relationship to our world. William James says, genius is nothing more than perceiving something in an unhabitual way. And that's what the flaneur as a model does. So, next week I'll talk about not the flaneur moving across the familiar to make it unfamiliar, but the traveler, the journeyer who goes to the unfamiliar and tries to make it familiar. All right, that's it.